cafe. Anyway.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Welcome to FF episode 2634, 2634, and Mike Matthews and a program that's called
Mike's Daily Podcast.
It's a podcast that Mike brings to you from Cafe Anyway, somewhere in Podcastro Valley. And I share interesting things with you. Like today, when you're listening to this, you may not know, or you didn't knew, that it's National Father-Daughter
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Take a Walk Day. So today, fathers and daughters need to take walks. On the 7th
Mike's
of July,
Daily
7/7
Podcast
23.
Yeah!
It's also World Chocolate Day and the National Day of Rock and Roll. Let's see. Eric Clapton. He was so important in rock and roll. With Cream and Derek and the Dominoes, Blind Faith, all his solo stuff. And then he went totally anti-vaxxer. And then I don't know what's going on now. But what a talent. All the stuff he did with Phil Collins. Phil Collins produced some of his solo albums. Perhaps you've listened to some classic rock in a dive bar. Today is also National Dive Bar Day. I'm not making this up. You can look this up. It is true. It's also National Macaroni Day. And that is something that I have not had too much of lately. Although there's a new place, like a barbecue place. Barbecue places tend to have great macaroni and cheese. But actually, it's not Macaroni and Cheese Day, just Macaroni Day. And Global Forgiveness Day. Not sure exactly if that is like forgiving debt, which was a big thing Bono of U2 was into for a while, or if it's just forgiving people for their trespasses as they trespass against you.
And here's today's podcast picture.
And of all that stuff, it's Mike Matthews with the podcast picture that features Mike Matthews and his cat, or one of the cats. This is the one that's the wild cat that adopted him in 2021. I think it was late 2020. He started coming around and adopted us, and we got him fixed. So he's all spayed and neutered and whatever. His name is Patches the Cat. You can see a picture of him at MikesDailyPodcast.com. And he's an older cat, so he probably knew this guy, the late great Basil the Boxer. I'm wondering if I saw him chase Patches out of the backyard one day. But now, sorry, late great Basil the Boxer, now Patches is hanging out with Mike. And that's a recent picture of the two of us together. He is feral, but he's pretty friendly. He lets you pet him, but you got to pet him a certain way and you can't pick him up. Unlike Rocky the cat, who's very friendly. We got him as a kitten. He's only a year old, but just very domesticated and friendly and family oriented and just the best cat. So cats, everybody, cats. And they get along, they play, they roughhouse. It's amazing. But you might be saying, Mike, I'm all into dogs. I wish I knew where the best dog park was to go to, or what city I should live in for the best dog park city. Well, believe it or not, the number one city for dog parks is Boise, Idaho. Yes, aptly named the City of Trees, Boise, Idaho asserted its dominance as the top dog park city with best access to pooch-friendly green space. It earned over 10 points more than San Francisco. And San Francisco was last year's gold medalist for Dog Park City.
Yeah, baby! Yeah.
The City of Angels, Los Angeles, is the worst overall dog park city. It has the third fewest dog parks. Yes. Our neighbors to the south, well, actually, they're about a 6-hour drive from us to the south, Los Angeles, So they have the fewest dog parks, something like 100,000 dogs. An estimated over 55 or 550,000 Los Angeles households own at least one dog.
Now that's legit.
And single LA residents are known to be pup magnets. This, according to the group known as Lawn Starter, they checked this all out, which I guess makes sense because dogs like lawns. They like to lay down on lawns and do other things on lawns that probably lawns don't appreciate.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh receives the least average amount of monthly sunshine. Did you know that? 42%? That's less than in Anchorage, Alaska, which gets more sunlight than anywhere else in the U.S. between mid-March and late September. It's dark the rest of the time, placing Anchorage second among the cities with the least amount of sun. Don't know why that got thrown in there, but that's an interesting bit of trivia as well. So make sure to take a dog out, take him for a walk, take him to a dog park. Don't just sit inside and play with your new Threads app. What is that, Mike? Well, Meta, that does Facebook and Instagram and WhatsApp, they now have created this Threads app that's supposed to compete against Twitter. Or namely, it should be Mark Zuckerberg is trying to compete against Elon Musk. And they're supposed to cage match it up, so we'll see. Who's going to win what contest of those two contests, which one will win. But I tried to check out Threads on the internet on a browser, and Bowser, Yowzer, Schnauzer, it is only accessible via an app. The Threads app, which is a poorly named app, because Threads is a really depressing movie that came out in the 80s about nuclear war. It's worse than The Day After. It was something that England did. It was such a sad, crazy, horrible, like the effects of nuclear war, and made right in the height of the Cold War in the 80s with Reagan threatening the guy before Gorbachev, Yeltsin. As we go outside a cafe anyway, where we bring you Mike's Daily Podcast, somewhere in Podcastro Valley, the last place on earth.
Anyway.
Yeah, so this is an app only. If you go to the website, if you think, oh, maybe if I go to threads.com, I can check out the app. That won't work because threads.com is it's another site not affiliated with Meta. And what they do is they're kind of like Discord. So in some ways, Threads is trying to be like Twitter, the app. But threads.com, not owned by, this is weird, not owned by Meta, not owned by Facebook or Instagram. In fact, it tells you as soon as you log on to threads.com, we're not affiliated with Instagram. It's trying to be like Discord. And Discord is a kind of a communication, web-based communication system that's like, there's something called Stack, which I've never used. I've used Discord. And it's basically you're messaging people back and forth. Like when you're doing a Zoom call and you got that little message window on the side and you can send people quick messages. That kind of thing. So,
the Fascinating Material Project.
So Meta's got to figure that out. Disney has got to figure out, a couple of things. Now, did they put out Indiana Jones? I somehow feel like they're affiliated. Well, the new Indiana Jones movie not doing well. Disney's Pixar Elemental was a movie made by Disney and Pixar. Elemental, it is off to a poor start as well at the box office, with just $33 million with a 4-day start.
You will travel into the incredible universe.
Pixar has had a string of recent disappointments, including last year's Lightyear, the story of Buzz Lightyear. Oh, that's right. That came out. I didn't even see that. That took in just $226 million worldwide, which is a fraction of the Toy Story, which Buzz Lightyear is a spinoff from. The Toy Story movies did so well, and Lightyear did a fraction of that. The March 2020 release of the movie Onward delivered just $142 million globally. And that, yes, March 2020 was just as the pandemic started and the shutdowns, the lock-ins, the closeouts, the stay-at-home, all of that was going on. Other films went straight to streaming, but Onward tried to actually still be in theaters. And then, shortly after, any new movie that came out just went straight to streaming. The Little Mermaid failed to draw international audiences, in particular after its release this year. Even Marvel, they did their February release of Ant-Man, and Marvel is owned by Disney.
The front panel will close automatically. Please remain seated.
Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, it generated worldwide ticket sales of $476 million. That is below past installments of Ant-Man, like the original movie, and the second one, Ant-Man and what was that one called? I forget. Ant-Man 2? Ant-Man, the second Ant-Man, where they shrunk down that whole huge building and it fell into the bay, is all I remember from it. And then at the end, the snap happens.
Magnification.
And that eventually leads to how the snap gets undone or changed or saved. Everybody gets saved in the Endgame Marvel franchise movie. It all's connected somehow. But Disney is trying to figure it out, pushing back new projects from Marvel and Lucasfilm, as well as the next Avatar. They're trying to push it back. And they're also losing in TV as advertising and market is bleak, and linear TV viewership fell about 10% last year, and pricing isn't climbing enough to make up for it.
Magnification.
So they had Eisner come back in, not Michael Eisner, Bob Iger came back in and is trying to fix stuff, but we'll see how that goes. And here in California, it's interesting that State Farm has exited. Wildfires and hurricanes are causing insurance companies to rethink coverage. We don't have hurricanes here, but they've been having a problem lately in Florida because of all the hurricanes they get and the amount of money insurance companies have to pay. Insurance companies will lose about $23.5 billion by 2050 due to more wildfires and hurricanes. And in 2022, homeowner premiums increased by 10%, almost 11%. Home insurers are already exiting markets along the eastern seaboard because they're getting tired of hurricane and the hurricane risks. But State Farm's exit from California last month, or this was back in May, or was it April? Well, it was this year due to wildfire hazards causing a stir. Insurance companies are dealing with historic increases in construction costs, outpacing inflation, and rapidly growing catastrophe exposure. So they're dealing with all of that. And then last year, AIG, the insurance company, left the California market. That's right, I used to have AIG years ago. Nationwide, are they on your side? They are taking action to mitigate risk, but they haven't given out details. As more insurers leave California, I think Allstate did as well, it could morph into an impeding issue as costs rise, making homeownership pricier than it is presently. The average construction cost last year was $153 per square foot, and that was up 43% from 2019. And that is what is happening in California, because insurance companies are going to lose $23.5 billion by 2050. So, yes, that is the current state of that. And look, we're outside a cafe anyway, somewhere in Podcastro Valley, where hopefully there's no fires going on. Look who's here. Hi, Mark. It's Benita the Rodeo Queen. How y'all doing? And it's a Disgruntled Fiddle Player. Tell you what. I'm really disgruntled because I live in California And I'm afraid of wildfires and insurance companies leaving. Tell you what. What? I thought you should know that because you asked. I didn't actually ask, but thank you for sharing. And look who else is here. Hello, Mike. I make delicious root beer. Have some in a hammer. Oh. That's pretty good. That's a lot of root beer there. I don't think I can drink all of that. Drink it right now, I'll cut you. I mean, I will try, but the pressure, I can't seem to. I'll do my best. Yes, so that is the latest I'm sharing with you today on the podcast. So you can check out the past podcast pictures. Check out the past podcast. The past podcast included the segment called the Mike Matthews New Tunes Feud. And we had some really good songs. Did I do that last one? That's... Oh, my. Do you know what? I think I have the wrong number. Oh, it's a good thing I checked it out. Okay. I said episode 2634. Hopefully you've listened all the way to the end of the podcast, because in fact, it is not that number. It is episode 2636. 2636 is today's. Yes, in the last podcast, we did do the Mike Matthews New Tunes Feud, played a bunch of new songs that got emailed to me. MikesDailyPodcast at gmail.com. Listen to those songs, vote on the one you like best, and I will let the winner know. I will contact them and let them know which one got the most votes, and I will announce who the winner is right here on this podcast. And with more ways to reach me, it's Ariel.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at MikesDailyPodcast.com. Email Mike now at MikesDailyPodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye!